The Wests Tigers podcast is brought to you by the Wests Tigers Podcast Forum. Join the conversation today at weststigerspodcast.com.au.
It is the West Tigers podcast, and a little bit different to last time. We're not only doing this as audio, but we're also doing it as video. And Nick, the cast has dropped down significantly because we had everybody. We had cast of thousands last time, Jordan and Zach and Toby and Declan, and this time it's just you and me. But I think that's pretty good. We're sort of like breathing in and breathing out. Sometimes we've got a cast of thousands. Sometimes it's just a fewer number of people. How have you been?
Not too bad, Joel. It's been a very big and busy weekend, so I'm kind of knackered. So, anyway, this will be a nice way to end the weekend chatting to you and talking a few things about West Tigers during this nice, quiet off season, which has been fairly eventful, or not very eventful for us, which has been great. So, enjoying it.
Exactly. Yeah, and I don't mind that it's been fairly uneventful. I think that's the word that you were
That's the
looking
word.
for. You are tired.
Yeah.
Uneventful is good. We had a bit of an eventful season in 2025, which I think sort of derailed us. So boring, stability, consistency, I think they're pretty good things for the West Tigers. It's something we haven't often had. And as I've said before, I think that stability is where you build off of. We are up to episode number 438 of the West Tigers podcast. As always, you can join the discussion at westtigerspodcast.com.au and then go into the forum. And if you haven't join up and join us for the chat there. We talk about signings and all sorts of different things. It would be great to see you there on the West Tigers podcast forum. And of course, right through season 2026 as well. We'll be doing our one-word responses to every win, loss, and draw, and all the other stuff that we do in and on the forum throughout the season. There's been a little bit of news that's happened in recent times, and that is the unveiling. Or first of all, I've got to talk before we talk about fashion. The shirt that you're wearing there, Nick. You've joined the Gareth Army, or you're a long-time member of the Gareth Army. And I did joke before we came on air that it's Gareth Widdop, but no, it's a different Gareth, isn't it?
Yeah, the one and only Gareth that matters to West Tigers fans from it's so long ago now, but yeah, good old Gareth Ellis. Yeah, as I'm sure everybody agrees, I don't think there'd be anyone that would disagree. You know what a great player he was for our club for for a few seasons. I think he won the player of the season each year that he played for us from memory. Brilliant back rower. Ran the ball really hard, defended really well. Kind of player that we really need on an edge at the moment, just to stiffen us up a little bit. But yeah, a few of the boys back in the day, we created a fan group called the Gareth Army, and we got some shirts made up and used to sit together and made a couple of signs and got on TV a few times. So good fun. Way back in the day when my hair was a little less grey.
Way back in the day, yes, and I probably had some. The funny thing about Gareth is, if you look at just, I don't know, even if I think about our other, star players of the 25 years, if we look at Benji, we look at Robbie, we look at any number of other guys that have been in the top tier of our best players. I mean, Gareth, I think, is slightly above that because, as you sort of alluded to there, he didn't divide the fan base. Everybody loved Gareth. There was just nobody that said he's overrated or this, that, or the other. And there's very few players, maybe Tedesco at his best with us, very few players have hit those heights. And that says a lot about his stint with us.
Completely agree. He wore his heart on his sleeve. He played the full 80 minutes with, all the intensity that he had in the bag. He never left anything behind. He led from the front. Everyone loved playing with him. I remember going to a members' day and got to meet Gareth with our boys, our mates, which was really cool. We all wore the shirts and got a photo with him. But I remember talking to a few of the other players at the time, and I remember Liam Fulton saying, "You've picked the right guy. Like, everyone loves and respects him so much." And Gareth's he means that much to the club at the time, and I know he came back. Was it last year or the year before? And I think he toured
Mm,
Concord
mm.
after the COE was opened up. So, and I do follow him on social media, and he follows the West Tigers, a lot. So, yeah, he's a part of the furniture at the
Mm.
club, and yeah, it would have been nice to have him a bit longer than those few years that we had him.
Yeah, well, he does fall into the Scott Prince category there a little bit. Maybe Lottie to Kiri, a few others. Tedesco, if they'd been around a bit longer, would have been really nice. Short but impactful stints was what they had with us. Royce Hunt. Did you see the picture of Royce Hunt on the training paddock? Now, sometimes you can see those training photos and go, okay, the angle or something like that. But he looks really cut. He looks really fit. Is this the dawn of a new Royce Hunt, Nick?
I would hope so because there was a bit of talk that he was being offered to look elsewhere or explore his options, but I'm glad that's not happening. I guess at the end of the season that's just gone, I probably wouldn't have minded either way because he just didn't provide enough minutes to be as impactful as what we wanted. But maybe he's just got his head screwed on right. And I know that we had some issues around this time last year when some of the boys came back a little bit heavier than what they were supposed to. And I know players like Latu got in a bit of trouble. I don't want to just single him out. I know there was someone else as well. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Mm.
That came back out of shape or compared to the benchmark that Benji had set. So, but yeah, maybe Royce is, really fighting for his, to keep his position. So he does look lean and fit, and at this time of the year, it's a really good sign. So hopefully, he doesn't eat too much ham over Christmas and rips in during January training, and away we go.
He's still got to get through the Christmas cake section of the of the year. I hope he really does take advantage of this and does come through and stamp his authority on West Tigers because it's kind of getting towards the end of his opportunities. And if he was to retire today, plenty of people would say, Royce had lots of ability. He certainly didn't lack for the physical prowess, but just never was able to reach that other level where maybe this is his opportunity to do that. And it would be lovely if he did, because we need more from him than what we got in 2025. We need more than that 10 impactful minutes. I know he played more than 10 minutes, but typically, he was yeah, like Gareth Ellis's time with the West Tigers. It was short and sharp and sweet, but we wanted more.
Completely agree. He is the type of prop that we need when he's firing on all cylinders. But like you, like you mentioned, we need more out of him. So there's no reason why he can't get his aerobic levels up.
Mm,
And with a really good and a correctly done preseason and off season, if he can work on that sort of aerobic fitness, then if he can get his bit more lung capacity, and I mean the sports science involved these days at the club is massive
mm.
and that advanced. So there's no reason why he can't be a fitter version of Royce in 2026. But yeah, if he can get sort of that 25, 30 minutes of high impact, if not more minutes out of that, then that's exactly the type of prop that we need to make a bit more of a dent next season.
Yeah, I don't know about a lot about sports science. It's not my area of expertise, but you would think if you you're still in your 20s, albeit Royce is just speaking, in general terms maybe, but Royce is still in his late 20s. If you can be fit enough to do 10 minutes of impactful NRL, like surely there's a way that you can increase that. Like it's not like you're starting from a couch potato and you got to do 10 minutes. Like surely it's possible. I wonder if it just because it's a mental thing. I wonder if perhaps sometimes it's that limitation.
You know what I'd love Royce to do is to hang out with Terrell during the
Mm,
off season and start running some of those. Maybe not a marathon, might be a bit far, but start doing some of those, those long runs or the additional training that Terrell does, which is it really is aerobic type fitness.
mm,
Um, you know, Terrell's. I think he likes doing alternative fitness, so not just the stuff that the footy players
yeah.
do in the gym, but he does a lot of stuff outside and outdoors. And really pushes himself to the limits too to see what's achievable. So if Royce could be more like that, and a bit more open-minded to, what he needs to do to get to that next level fitness-wise, then that's going to pay huge dividends for him next year. But yeah, 2026 is the year that it's make or break for Royce. I think he was on a bit of a knife's edge toward the end of the season with a bit of talk that the club was potentially looking at other options, but
Mm.
if he's got his head screwed on, then I'm excited to see the sort of Royce Hunt that we're going to see early on next season.
Yeah,
Hopefully, there's a
yeah.
big one.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Other new recruit Bunty Afoa. I haven't seen any photos of Bunty at training at this stage, and he hasn't been added to the NRL squad teams section on the official website. Jock Madden also not there. Neither have been placed onto the New South Wales Cup page. But I just wonder if they are part of the top 30. It just seems a little bit strange that they're not there when Maverick Geyer is there and a couple of the other new guys have been added in. So that's going to be an interesting one to see what happens, especially with Bunty, like because he is on apparently a train and trial deal.
Yeah.
So hopefully he not only gets added to the website, but he's a contributor to the first grade team next year. If you get a fit and firing Royce Hunt and Bunty comes and hits the ground running, that's a bit of impact off that bench, Nick.
It is a bit of impact. Maybe the guys that manage that the team list on the website have gone on early holidays.
Yeah,
I know the social media team's been doing a really great job.
true.
Come up with some really quality content over the last few weeks, which has been fun to watch. But I'm sure they will get added, Joel. I'm not going to start any conspiracy theories here about why they aren't appearing, but yeah, we'll wait and see.
Wait and see. Well, we did wait and see the new West Tigers jersey designs. I've got to say, mostly positive reception on the socials. There's always going to be some people that don't like whatever design you put out there, and apparently there has been some rumblings and grumblings from some members of the joint venture that are still maybe living in about 1996 and not necessarily
Yeah.
2026, almost 2026. What did you make of the designs, Nick? I was a little bit surprised that we went with a predominant orange jersey for our normal jersey, and then our away
Yeah, the
jersey
home.
being predominantly white. What
Yep.
did you think? Was it what you were expecting?
Um, no, although there were hints that and suggestions it was going to be different, and it is to an extent. So I'm still undecided, to be honest. There's parts of the new design that I like, and then parts that I don't really like at the moment. But I'm willing to be open to the fact that it might grow on me. So I'm just looking at the Raw store now, but with the new jersey, I do like how they've sort of brought in that two-tone sort of look, the black at the bottom and then fades up into the orange. On closer inspection, which I actually missed, is the tiger sort of stripes that are very faint in the background, so it actually looks like the tiger print on the jersey, which I think is quite clever. What I'm not really sold on is like the claws that they've introduced instead of the chevron or the V. For me, that looks a little bit dated. It kind of takes me back to probably early 2000s, maybe 2003, 2004. I think we might have had a training jersey similar
Mm,
to that, which, look, I think I might get used to it, but at the moment, I'm not 100% sold. However, saying that, I am keen to get down to Concord and buy my son a jersey for Christmas. So I don't think he'll listen to this podcast, and because it might be coming from Santa and not his father, but we'll wait and see. But look, they're different. So, full credit to the club for giving it a shot. And from what I have read, the majority of feedback's been pretty good. So I'm not going to knock him, but yeah, that white one's interesting. That's very different because we're used to seeing either a predominantly black or a predominantly orange
yeah,
jersey. So white is different. And I did actually see someone make a comment, might have been on the forum, about the white one is a smart choice during the warmer months at the
yeah.
start of the year too. So
Mm.
um, yeah, a bit of brains there from the club possibly.
I like the shade of orange. Like it's definitely an orange that I think sort of works better, and it is probably not to rock the boat any further, but is it's
Mm,
closer to the more traditional Balmain color, which is really good. As I said, I really like the predominantly white jersey as well, where I think
yeah.
the claws sort of work a little bit better with the lighter background. Just going to mention, Nick, you're in the third stage of life. There are three stages of life. You believe in Santa Claus. You don't believe in Santa Claus. You are Santa Claus. So you've now entered the third stage of life. What I like about the jerseys and the club going back to what you were saying about this, doing a good job on the social media, it was definitely a quirky idea. Let's make a video about the Pepper Money box disappearing
Yeah.
on the jersey. That was very out of left field, but it looks so much better. When you look back at last year's
Yeah.
jersey, it just integrates so much better in.
100%. Yeah, especially because the pepper being in red, text, stands out a little bit, especially against an orange jersey. And I think the majority of people, from feedback I saw this time last year, were all saying the same thing. Why it couldn't have been that hard just to, you get rid of the box and just outline the pepper money. It'll look so much sharper, and voila, they've done it. And yep, the social media team took advantage of that, and wasn't it easy? They just, click the box and remove. Job
Yes,
done.
exactly.
Do it a year ago. Anyway, here we are.
They've obviously bought the pro version of Pro Tools, not Pro Tools, but Photoshop in the last 12 months.
Yeah,
They can now
correct.
do that. They were trying desperately to do it in Paint, and it wouldn't work. So,
Spot on.
is it? I think the right time, 100% the right time to make the jersey design change because there is a lot of scar tissue around the old design. I think a fresh start is needed to really show that we've touched wood, turned that corner, got out of those dark days because we just want to leave those behind. And those jerseys, there's a lot of pain that surrounds them.
Yeah, there is, and I know the clubs sort of made a point of that in their social media post too, saying that, a lot of the story behind the new jerseys and the new design is a new era. It's a new chapter. Things are different. A change is coming and all this sort of stuff. um, which is quite powerful when you watch it. But then I guess the cynic in me while watching those clips is kind of sitting back thinking, well, now it's time for action because I actually want to see
Mm.
a change on the field. But unfortunately, we're going to have to wait, another 3 or 4 months before we get to see the team and whether anything looks different. But the club needs an angle like that to get people engaged, and they are very clever in the way that they've been advertising the new designs. And I know a few people went to, as in fans and members, went to the unveiling of the jersey, which was pretty cool. But and there was a lot of hype around that and a lot of discussion about people buying jerseys already. And
Mm.
even when I went on the Raw store today, a lot of them are sold out. Like you can't, I don't know how many that they made for the initial release, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
very hard to get a jersey. So yeah, a lot of excitement, Joel. I'm not overly excited yet. I just want to enjoy the off season. Still got a good 3 months before we play a trial game, so happy to just sit back and take it easy for a while.
Well, speaking of those trial games, I thought we'd have a quick mention about that because the I forgot to put it on my rundown, but the trial matches for 2026 confirmed. So trial one will play the Roosters, which no doubt will be the traditional sort of what do they call them? Hopefuls and maybes, where often a
Yeah,
lot of the younger players. But then trial two, the serious one, is against the Panthers at Leichhardt Oval, and that'll be huge. That
sell out.
trial at Leichhardt. What do you think about playing a really strong team in the trial before the and bearing in mind we got the buy in round one? I think that's a pretty good strategy. I'd rather be playing a really good team that we can test ourselves out against.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess having that round one buy again, which I can't believe we've got it again. But the way that it works, because it'll obviously be Vegas the first week,
Mm.
then we'll have the buy the second week.
Yeah.
So it'll be a good, 3 or 4 weeks in between that trial game and when we actually play. So really good chance for the boys to, recover and get ready for our own round one, I suppose, in the
Mm.
official round two. But yeah, they'll probably do that, won't they? And from memory, with that second trial, they do play the stronger team for probably a good maybe 40 to 60 minutes, and then the last
Yeah.
20, they generally, take I guess the stars or the NRL starters off
Mm.
and rest them up. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens. Yeah, Leichhardt, I'll have to make sure I get out to that one, Joel. It could
Mm.
be a big crowd. Be nice if they could get Ivan out in the middle to talk to the crowd at pre-game. Be nice to hear from Ivan.
Yeah, Voldemort. Anyway, let's not go down that path because that's not going to lead to us
Bring him
feeling
out in
good
the
about
minibus.
ourselves. Speaking of 2026, okay, so a little bit of a sort of main topic for the podcast. Three areas West Tigers need to improve in 2026. The first one is one I've already mentioned because we spoke about Royce Hunt, we spoke about Bunty Afoa, we spoke about the bench. I think We need more oomph off the bench. What are your thoughts?
Yep. Can't disagree. Yeah, it has felt like we haven't had the right mix on the bench.
Yeah.
A lot of times during the season, you take off, whether it's Sione or whoever started, at prop, and you'd bring in someone like, or wouldn't be, or sometimes it was 12, but he played a
Hmm.
lot of 13, or maybe it was Seyfarth, but you just lose that impact straight away, and you'd go for 20 minutes where you're struggling to get upfield. But yeah, I can't disagree. I think bench rotation's an important one. Um, for for trying to stay in games
Mm.
early.
Yeah, yeah.
The last thing you want to do is get behind with momentum because obviously points then come off the back of it. So bench rotation's huge.
One of the things that stands out to me a lot with our games in 2025 is there's been a lot of times where I remember thinking to myself, we're playing really well here. Like we started a game really strongly and got to sort of 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes and had a few things go against us. And we again suffered from that late half fade and conceded tries or points just before halftime and just after halftime in a number of our losses.
Yep.
So I think definitely some impact off the bench is will help that, and I see us having more impact. If you've got Twal in the prop rotation, as a lot of people are tipping,
Mm.
not to say that Twal is an impact player, but you'd probably start Twal and May, and then you've got Sione off the bench. You've got Pole. You've got Bunty Afoa. You've got Royce Hunt. You've got quite
Yep.
a few options, and
Yep.
I think that's going to put us in better stead. So I don't mind having a Twal and a May go on and defend really well and play their game, but we definitely need some more impact off that bench, and I think that's one thing the club has targeted, and it gives me a reason to feel a little bit more optimistic. Was it one of your three areas of areas that need to improve?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, bench rotation was a big one.
Yep.
Completely agree. We need to be able to inject ourselves into the second part of the first half because you're right, we fall away a bit, and the amount of times we concede a try before halftime or just
Yeah.
after is ridiculous. You can almost feel it coming. And
Mm.
I know a lot of the, fellow fans that post on the forum say that as well. You can just sense when we're going to drop a couple of easy tries, and they're the ones that cost us in the end. How many times do we sit back and look at a season and think, if only we had won this game that we lost by 4 points, or this one we lost by two, or here we had a 10 point or 12 point turnaround in 5 minutes. Like that's the stuff that costs you 2 points, and those 2 points, if you do it three, four, five, six times in a
Yeah.
season, are the difference between you know scraping in weight for coming 12th,
Yeah.
13th, 14th, or 15th. So definitely a huge part of where we need to improve for next season. Can't disagree.
Because realistically, when you're a mid-table team, you're going to win roughly about 50% of your games, give or take.
Yep.
But it's
Yep.
those 5 games that you rue at the end of the season and go, if only we'd won those, then that
Yep.
would have been, exactly what you're saying, that would have been the difference. And sometimes it's things like bench rotation. It's uh, being able to maintain momentum or swing momentum back towards you. And you can't do that, I don't think, if you've got tired legs or you've got guys on the field that aren't impactful. So
Yep.
I think that's an area that I think we're in better stead than we were in
Yep.
2025 if I look at where we were this time last year. What else did you have for your areas in need of improvement?
My first one was we need to fix our right edge defense
Right edge
because
defense.
that's
Yep.
that's been broken for years,
Yeah.
and that I guess that's something that starts really opening up and folding through tiredness.
Yeah.
And you start seeing that towards the back end of the first half, and then it depends on who you play, but most teams are pretty smart and they figured out that we've got some weakness in that right side, and that's where the majority of the tries come through. So if I know we've got KPP coming, but he's only one player.
Mm.
He needs to fit into our system, and hopefully he does that pretty quick. But we also need to improve that system down that right side. So we also need a very fit and ready to go Stafford Tower in that centre position outside
Yeah.
as well. So there's a lot that we need to get right and be ready for to make those improvements. But that's 100% an area of our game that needs improving because we can't keep getting stripped for numbers down that right side and leaking points. When you
Mm.
look at the amount of points we leak on average, I don't actually know what it is, but I, I think we're nowhere near, what we should be to be playing finals. So
Mm.
definitely need to tighten that up.
Yeah, right edge defense. I got a flashback to Kevin Nguama and David Nofaluma. Yeah,
Yeah,
hang out on that right edge. And when
yeah,
you're talking about it's been a problem for years, yeah, I just it went straight in my mind. Yeah, I remember that
yeah.
being a problem. Next year, but as you said, Toa, KPP, you're probably thinking you're going to have Dewey there instead of Galvin, who Galvin with his you know, defensive issues
Mm.
that he had early on in the year for us, of course, and
Yep.
probably Taruva. You think, that Taruva would be on
Yeah.
that right edge. I mean, that structurally looks a lot more promising defensively. So that could be something that we are in better stead than we were a year ago as well. That's a good one. My second one was we have to turn around the mid-season slump.
Yep.
So last year, 6 losses on the trot from round
Yeah.
10 to round 18. We had 2 buys in there as well, but we went from ninth to 14th and it was season over. And I know there was a lot going on. There was obviously, the carpet had been pulled out from under us and contributed to that to no end. But you're not going to play semi-final football if you're going through a season and losing 6 straight games. So
Unless you're
that's
Penrith.
sorry.
Unless you're Penrith.
Unless you're Penrith, exactly. You've got the class to be
Yeah,
able to
and you
right the
do it at the
ship.
start. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, mid-season slump. It would be nice if that was a thing of the past, Nick.
Yeah, can't disagree there either, Joel. I think you hit the nail on the head. And we've done that quite a few times the last few seasons as well. And it's really bad for the club. It's not just the players and the club itself, but the fans. We just you get kind of used to it, which
Mm.
is sad. I think when we
Promising
start
start, and
correct,
then
get your
a
hopes up.
lull, and then yep,
Yep.
yep,
Yep, it seems to happen every year. I know it
mm,
doesn't, but the last few years we've definitely had that lull. But there's nothing worse than going a month and a half without a win. It's
yep,
so depressing. And
mm,
even coming on here, trying to be positive enough to continue talking about
yeah,
West Tigers and footy is very difficult. So thank you everyone for listening
yeah,
for a start. And as you all know, it's very difficult following West Tigers. We do love it, but yeah, they're a tough team to follow. But yeah, 100% need to get rid of those lulls to be
mm.
competitive.
And realistically, like if you look at the team that came last this year, Newcastle, like
Mm,
mostly competitive. It's like, and I've spoken about this on the podcast before. It's not like the old days where you just had one or two teams that were just dreadful, that went through a season that won 2 games. Like we were pretty bad there in our wooden spoon years, of course.
yeah,
But nowadays in the NRL, most teams win at least sort of once a month. They go through a season with at least 5 or 6 wins, and for us to go with a more competitive squad. And
mm,
and it all started with that Melbourne schmozzle, I believe. I think that was where the rot
yeah.
set in.
What a nightmare. Yep.
It really set the team and the club back. So
Mm,
kudos to them for coming back and becoming more
mm.
competitive after that. But that definitely was a significant impact on the 2025 season that we've got to find a way to not have happen again next year.
And just one thing on that too, we're not a good enough team to fight back from 4 or 6 losses in a row because we can't even win more than two in a row.
Mm.
So until we
Yeah,
can start putting together three, let's start with three in a row, and then we can work to four. But you just can't afford to have that many losses, because you can't pull it back. You just get too far behind, and then you're
yep,
chasing your tail, and then Benji's under the pump, everyone's
yeah,
under the pump, everyone's looking at Appy saying Appy looks tired. You got to get him off, and then you're changing the team up, and you're just chasing your tail, and
yeah,
it's not good. So yeah,
yeah,
let's win
hundred
some more
percent.
games.
Consistency,
Yeah.
very important. What did you have next on your list of areas for improvement?
Stability in the halves, and I know
That's
that's
exactly
been,
what I've got written. I've got consistency in the halves. You've got stability in the halves.
yeah,
Completely agree.
it's much the same, isn't it?
Yep.
So I know it's difficult because you obviously had Galvin leave the club after the first third of the year last year, and he was touted as a lock-in for a long, long time.
Mm.
he walked out. The next man up was Latu, who has obviously had a lot of issues with his shoulders over the last few years, but he's also been struggling to get back to regular NRL or regular footy, and he's only young too. I assume he's turned 20.
Yeah, I'd say he would have now. Yeah.
Yeah, so Latu is obviously the future. I'm not 100% sure whether he's right to go for the start of the year, and I think we might be looking at AD again
Mm.
in that 7 jersey, I would assume anyway, to be alongside Jerome. So um, that again begs the question, doesn't it? If AD's ready to go, do you keep him as your first pick 7 for the year? Um, or is he just to fill in until Latu's ready to go? And
Yeah.
then what do you do with AD? Like, then we start shuffling the deck cards again, which is probably not what you want to be doing when you're trying to find some stability in that key attacking position.
Yes, I guess a lot of it's going to be how we go with Dewey at halfback to start the season. Like
Yeah.
if we're playing well, if it's working, if his combination with Luai is working, if we've got some creativity,
Mm.
we've got something magical
Yeah.
happening in the number 13 jersey that's helping out, then
Yeah.
the problem is solved. Then we're just gonna you just stick with that, and Latu can regain his fitness and take his time, and then possibly take that 14 utility
Yeah.
spot on the bench. Like it's a
Yeah.
problem that will go away if Dewey and the team fires from round one. But if we don't, then yeah, it's a whole different conversation. Jock
Yeah.
Madden obviously also in the mix. I'm sure that Jock would be saying, I'm in line for that number 7 jersey and I'm going to fight my way. Why would you not? I mean, he's just been, with the Broncos for a couple of seasons. He played a bit of first grade there. He would be thinking he's coming to play first grade or going to have a damn shot at it. And
Yep.
Javon Andrews also in the mix there, although Javon yet to debut. It would be very unusual, I would think, to hey, we've done it before with Garrett. With
Yeah.
Garrett, I've got Gareth on my mind with that guy that went to Canterbury, whose name now escapes me, Galvin.
Yeah.
um,
That guy.
that guy. But you would think that yeah, Dewey will get first crack. I would suggest if he's fit and healthy to go.
Yeah, and he definitely proves sorry to cut in, Joel,
Yeah.
before we move on, but he was obviously playing for a contract this year, but
Mm,
he definitely proved that he has what it takes to be a decent 7, which I didn't think he had it in him. But
yeah.
the things I do like about AD being in the middle, especially in attack, is his long kicking game
Mm,
and his ability to put up that high bomb with a bit of torp on it, which is very difficult when it starts wobbling for the fullback to catch or the wingers. So
yeah.
there's a lot of positives there with AD. He's goal kicking as well. I know we've got Appy as a backup, but Latu is obviously the future. But yeah, it's a tough choice, isn't it? I'll be very curious to see how
Mm.
how it's all falls into place through the trials and early next season.
Well, I mean, the other way to look at it too is that if Latu was fully fit, if Latu hadn't have got injured, if Dewey was, a consistently available player, like, he's obviously had his injury problems, and we're at this point, and we didn't know who was going to be our halfback in round number 2 of 2026, I would be suggesting to you that's probably not the recipe for success. So it still
Yeah,
seems a bit of a vulnerability to me that we're not 100% sure who our halfback is, given arguably it's the most important position on the field. So
yeah,
that's definitely a question mark and something that we're on the same page of, and I'm sure most other fans are on the same page of what's going to happen with those halves and that
yeah.
consistency. Obviously, who's going to be playing next to Jerome Luai,
Mhm.
and you would think that Luai's days in the 7 are over. That's surely not going to happen. You keep him on the left, you keep him working with
Yeah,
the left edge, which you presume is going to be Samuela and Taylor May. We don't know
and they look
where
good.
Maccassini fits in there, and all of
Yeah,
those other question marks.
yep.
Okay, so we've got consistency in the halves, more impact off the bench, avoid the mid-season slump. Have you got another one of our areas to improve next year?
That's pretty much it. I had forward pack dominance and discipline. So
Yeah.
discipline's a huge one. We need to cut out, I guess, some of those Seafarth errors that we make, too often.
Yeah.
Although I don't want to bag him. I actually think Alex had a better season last year in terms of discipline, but
Mm.
that brain explosion he had was it our last game? I can't remember.
I think it's against the
Um,
Bulldogs, I think, from memory.
yeah, might have been Bulldogs. Yeah,
Yeah.
when we are in that game until about that point. But yeah, if we can cut out that silly stuff, it was the year before we had all of those sin bins. I think we were the most sin bin team. So we made an improvement, but we've got to keep improving on that too. You can't keep giving away silly penalties at the wrong times of the game in the wrong part of the field either. So the last thing you want to do is defend a set of six, get the ball, make a couple of hit ups and then do something stupid or retaliate to a, bit of back chat from the opposition and then get penalised for it. So yeah, discipline's a huge one, um, which has so many knock-on effects.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, sort of to turn that around, I think that kind of the moments where somebody has a brain snap are actually the result of the ill discipline, not the actual ill discipline. Like when the team gets frustrated, when the team's
Yeah,
the bounce of the ball's not going their way, when the referee decisions aren't going our way, when we're holding down a little bit longer, when we're being a bit lazy, when we're a little bit fatigued, then
yeah,
typically it builds like a pressure cooker, and then we have the brain snap. Whereas, yeah, I think that keeping that initial momentum in the game, but staying on top of those areas as much as you can, with obviously another team running at you and a referee that you got to work with, and umpire decision, referee decisions, and things
yeah.
to take into account. But keeping that discipline on the highest level is, I think, very very important.
Exactly right.
And Seyfarth, yeah, much better this year. But the trouble with Alex is I don't trust him because the more weeks he goes without doing it, the more the spring is winding up.
You know it's coming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's go to the other side of the coin. More discussions about the West Tigers 2026 season. Three things that have you worried. We've probably hit on a couple of those ones. I'll launch into the first one. The first one is we're getting these reports about Buller re-signing, but to me it feels like it's going to drag on a bit and potentially be another circus. What are your thoughts on that one?
I think it will drag on. I know that there's been a few things in social media, stories about Buller, and some of the Tigers players have jumped on the back and made a few comments and a few emojis and thrown in Jareem with a tag, and they seem to be having a laugh about it. So I'm not too worried. I'm just going to let it sort of work itself out. I think Richo's obviously a very clever operator. Saying that, we did lose Galvin, but I have a feeling that Richo knew that was happening before it happened.
Yeah.
With Jareem, it's interesting because we went and signed, what's his name, the young fullback from Penrith?
Uh,
Yeah, that
Attard?
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jack Attard. Yeah,
Yeah.
we went and signed him, and he's got huge raps, as a lot of kids do when they're
Yeah.
playing lower grades and junior footy and coming up behind someone like Dylan Edwards. But there's big raps on him. Did we sign him as cover for Buller? Maybe.
Maybe.
Did we sign him just as depth and to give him an opportunity? That's likely as well. So,
Mm.
look, if we lose Buller, yes, I'd be disappointed because I don't want to lose Buller. I think he's got the skills to further develop into a better fullback than what he currently is. I think he's got really good skills with the ball in his hands. He's obviously very quick and effortlessly quick. He doesn't look like he's fast, but he's fast.
Mm.
And he's got that ability to wrap around the defense of the attack and create numbers. And I think with a little bit more stability in the halves, if we can get that and a bit more structured attack, I think Bullock can come into his own and become more of a more attacking style fullback than what he already is.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, but if he leaves, it's probably 900 grand we're going to save and we can put elsewhere. So, you know,
Yeah.
flip side, don't
It's
know,
it's
wait
a
and
hard
see.
one. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
hard one because I look at our 2026 team and I think about the difference with us playing with us reaching seventh or eighth position could be the way that Buller plays next year. Like that's how
Yep.
important he is.
Yep.
But if he doesn't re-sign, like I can see some other opportunities. Like if you're the young guy from Penrith, like wouldn't you just stay at Penrith if you're just coming to play New South Wales Cup? Like there has to be something more to that. So I don't know.
Mm.
It's hard, and it's hard because we hear these stories that he's about to resign. So yeah, I just hope it's done quickly, one way or another. Like make a decision, and we can start to plan.
Well, thinking about that too, it's a massive, massive kick in the guts again if he leaves because
Mm.
we've just seen it happen that many times with players walking out or deciding that their future's not at West Tigers. West Tigers is
Yeah.
not the place for them if they want to be a successful footballer.
Mm.
And we have to turn that around. Like we can't keep being the doormat. Um, you don't want players coming to the club because they know they're going to get a go because they won't get a go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason they come to West Tigers. We've got to be the club that attracts quality players to the club because they know that they're going to play finals. But
Mm.
after 14 long years of zero finals, it's very, very difficult. I'll give full credit to Richo and Benji for obviously selling the future for what West Tigers is going to be.
Mm.
And it's very hard because you're using a crystal ball there to get
Yeah.
players to come over.
Going to be.
But yeah, but 2026 has to be the year that we make that step into final. It just has to. Like we
Mm.
cannot go any longer because I look at players like Appy, who's
Mm.
been here for a few years now. Like the poor bugger is getting to the twilight of his career. If we get to mid-season and we have another lull, like you were talking about, the poor guy's just going to be.
Mm.
I can just see him just wanting to walk away. Like I don't
Mm.
think he will. I think he'll stick out his contract, but um, you couldn't blame him for for giving up hope. But that's only if we have another failure of a season, in my opinion. I think there's more emphasis on 2026 being a finals year than ever before, in my
So is
opinion.
is missing the finals a ninth place? Is that a failure?
Uh, Look, if we came ninth, I'd be disappointed. But at
Mm.
the same time, it's an improvement. However, I want to play finals.
Mm.
I'm just sick of it. I've said before, I've got three boys. My eldest is 14. My eldest was born 2 months after we played our last finals game.
Yeah.
That's his entire life. He
Yep.
now no longer cares about NRL or the West Tigers because he's sick of watching the team
Mm.
lose.
Mm.
My middle boy, my 10-year-old, is the only hope I've got. But we need to start winning games of footy.
The
We've lost a
frust
generation
Yeah, yeah,
of
I know, I
fans.
know. The
Yeah.
frustrating thing is that there's other teams in the competition that have average years, not their best, but they still play finals. That's the difficult
Yeah.
and depressing thing about it. But back
Yep.
to fullbacks, Ryan Pappenhausen not signed with
Yeah.
R360. I mean, we all say, "Oh, Buller, we want you, we love you, don't leave us." But if we had Pappenhausen coming for the same money, you'd take Pappenhausen, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would. The poor bugger's had some horrible injuries. That's the only thing that would
Mm.
worry me with Pappenhausen. But yeah, I'd take him. His speed off the out of the blocks is incredible. And he's been playing in a winning club there for a number of years now. So
Yeah.
a lot of experience. Sad to say that he's a player that we had on our books a long, long time ago before he was told that he wasn't our preferred fullback. But I'd love to have him back, Ryan. But good luck in R360 or whichever path you take going
Mm.
forward.
Wherever you end up, yeah, it'll be a
Yeah.
big off-season story. I'm sure that one.
He might actually end up playing Global Monopoly with that Richo's setting up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, talking about setting up a Global Monopoly tournament.
I wonder what
If
his
anyone missed
strategy
that.
would be. Is it to buy the railway stations? Do you aim for Mayfair and Park Lane? Do you buy the cheap stuff and just throw hotels on them? Like, yeah,
He'd be sending everyone to jail, Richo.
100%. I wouldn't play against
Yeah.
Richo.
No, no.
Um, things that have us worried. So the Buller situation for me. What have you got on your list, Nick?
Um, Actually, I didn't really have when I was doing the positives
Yep.
or the things that we need to fix. I was actually thinking, like a lot of these crossover,
Mm, they do.
onto the other side too. So, um, yeah, Buller's obviously a worry. I worry, like I said before, I worry about Appy. Um, Jerome, I'm not too worried with Jerome. Like he's come out and said that he's not going anywhere. He has alluded to the fact that all those terms and clauses in his
Yeah, yeah.
contract is in his best interests, and just a couple little snide remarks or a remark that he made that Tigers don't obviously have a great track record with making the best decisions. So,
Mm.
but again,
You could fact
the
check him on
clubs
that. It's
you can
pretty accurate.
easily, very easily, yeah. And like I was just saying, 14 years,
Yeah,
which has been a complete shambles. So,
exactly.
good on him for being as dedicated and committed to the cause as he's publicly said.
Mm.
But yeah, we need to start winning 40 games. So
Yeah.
that's the one thing I'm worried about is actually getting out on the field and showing that we're a better football club for it. Um, when I think about it, it's such a huge year for Benji
It's a
Marshall.
it's a massive year for the club, not just Benji. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it is massive. If we miss finals,
Mm,
what's it mean for Benji
mm.
next year?
Well, look, it all depends on have we overcome some of those issues? Did we go through a big losing streak, or have we been winning 50% of our games and been
Yeah,
competitive and not got flogged and come ninth? Well, he's safe as houses. But if we go back to where we were a couple of years ago, then
yep,
there's that possibility. And I think Richo would be pretty cutthroat. He'd
yeah,
have a plan B sitting in his drawer, I'm sure. But let's hope we don't get there. I think Benji, my gut feeling is that he's the old plates are off and he's starting to find his feet as a coach, and
yep.
he's been through some testing situations and testing times at the club and with the clipboard. But I think he's growing into the role, so I don't have a huge amount of concerns about that at the moment. It's not at the forefront of my mind. The other things that I had that have me worried, as we already mentioned, the halves, the questions around the halves or the
Mm.
halfback, question about who's going to play lock and what that looks like. Is it a creative player? Is it a twirl? Is
Yeah,
it, what's going to happen there? That's something that has me a little bit worried. I'm sure that in the club they've got a plan.
mm.
Yeah, it's an important position on the field to get right as well. And the other one that I had, Nick, was the youngsters, the Macassinis, the guys that we bought, Ethan Roberts and Javon Andrews and even Latu, to a degree.
Mm.
And there's a few more, Phoenix Godney, that like they're on the cusp and they're going to be, fingers crossed, big contributors to the West Tigers. But at this stage, they're not ready. Maybe
Yeah.
Latu, a little, obviously not, slightly ahead there, but they're not proven at NRL level just yet. So that has me a little bit worried. And we're kind of relying on those guys over the next few years to sort of come in and hit the ground running. So yeah,
Yep.
that was my little list. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
It's been like that the last few years, hasn't it? That we've got a good crop of young kids
Mm,
coming up, but they're not physically ready yet, and they're not NRL, battle ready and experienced. So it's very hard to tell a fan base that's missed out for so long that the future's bright. When unless you go out to those junior games or watch them keenly like Declan does, it's very hard to get an eye on those kids and how they play and what in their positions and how they could potentially blend into the NRL team. But yeah, no, I don't know, Joel.
yeah.
I completely agree with what you said. I think the biggest worry for me is when you put the best 1 to 17 on paper
Mm,
for 2026. There's
mm,
not a I don't have a great deal of difference from last year or this season just gone.
mm,
There's a few players coming in, but a lot of it is still the same for me. And like you're
mm.
talking about 12 playing 13, he did improve a lot. And
Yeah.
I think he can do a job at 13, but I think he'd probably be better off in that prop rotation. So that's still a question mark for me.
So
So
what's
yeah,
changed? I'd go back to our original point. I think the bench has changed. I think we've got more options and
yep,
the chance for more impact off the bench. So that's
100%.
something.
Yep,
I
agreed.
like that the back line's pretty settled as well,
Yep,
and there's some good
yep,
players there.
yep.
The halves, sorry, the spine is pretty much settled, obviously, other than that halfback situation that we've discussed.
Mm,
But I agree. Like, you look at it and you go, well, what's going to be different? And then you look at it and you go, well, I've got to have some hope. I've got to, hope that
yeah,
we capture some lightning in the bottle and we get a bit of luck. And I think it'd be
yep.
great for the NRL. Just nod, wink, wink. It'd be great for the NRL for the West Tigers to play in the finals. What a story that would be.
Oh,
Sending
it'll
this
be
message
huge.
telepathically to the guy that runs the game, Andrew Abdo and the other guy whose
And
name
Vlandis,
escapes me.
yeah.
So maybe we could get a couple of refereeing decisions go our way and get a bit of luck, and we could be the fairy tale story of 2026. That'd be pretty good.
Are you suggesting bribery? You think bribery is the way to go? Start
I'm
paying
I'm
the
certainly
referees?
not suggesting that the NRL is fixed. Not at all.
Yeah.
The other part of it as well is that, I look at some of our opposition. And yeah, I reckon there's going to be a bit of a change next year with a few clubs that are look a little bit weaker and a few guys that are certainly in the veteran stage and change and churn like Manly without DCE. It's going to take a little while for them to
Yep.
find their feet and also all those sorts of things. So I think the opportunity's there. I think that at least seventh and eighth position are a potential for us. So
Yeah, that's the one thing that I hate, Joel, is you get to the start of the year and you can almost pick probably the top six,
yeah.
you know, without fail.
Mm.
And then there's a couple of positions up for grabs in the eight that might rotate, but it's usually within about four clubs that can rotate between that seventh and
Yeah.
eighth, and then the rest are write-offs. And we've been in that write-off category for a long time. So
Mm.
yeah, it'll be huge for us to get up into that sort of mid-tier where we can get back to 50%
Yeah.
win rate, sort of back in the old Sheens days when he sort
Mm.
of was averaging around that 50%. And I used to joke that Tim Sheens was a 50% coach, but I
Yeah.
wish I wish Benji was a 50% coach. We'd have a lot more of a chance. But onwards and upwards, Joel. It's 2026 or bust for me.
I
I,
wish we had a football club that had a 50% winning average over 25 seasons,
That'd be good.
because we're not. We've
Yeah.
got the worst winning percentage
Yep.
in that time, which is really, really depressing. Anyway, let's
Yep.
stay optimistic. Not sure when we'll do the next edition of the West Tigers podcast. I'm not sure what the lineup might be. We might have a couple more people, or we'll see how we go. And it's all dependent on news and topics to talk about. But it's been really good, Nick. And as I said at the top of the show, don't forget to join us on the West Tigers podcast forum. If I don't talk to you before Christmas, Nick, I hope Santa is good to you. And I'm sure you'll get a new West Tigers jersey yourself from Santa.
I may do, Joel. Maybe we should do a Christmas Eve edition. Give
Christmas
something
Eve. Yeah.
something for people to listen to on Christmas Day while sitting around eating their ham and turkey.
Now, is the question is though, is Santa bringing you the white jersey or the orange jersey?
I'd probably lean to the orange one, but let
Okay.
me go into the raw store. I want to have a feel of them and maybe put one on and see what it looks like. But don't know. I have to wait
Yeah.
and see.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there might be one of those white ones coming to my place at some stage, which is
I don't
unusual for
mind
me.
it.
I haven't bought a jersey in a long, long time.
Yeah.
Good on you, Nick. Good to see you. We'll catch you soon. And thanks, everybody, for listening. And as I said, join us on the West Tigers podcast forum. Plenty to talk about all the time. See you soon.
See you, Joel.